I
Hey,
know.
welcome to Captive Audience for a wonderful Wednesday. And Don was just stifling a yawn. No, 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 no. His
Hello,
coffee's
everybody.
coming. Trust us.
Well, good to see you all, or at least to see Sunny and hear you all.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. It's good to see you too. I'll tell you, I have a feel good story I want to start with. Today, our Republican Women's Club was out delivering dictionaries. Part of something that we do is deliver dictionaries to the third and fifth grade students in a couple of different school districts. And it's from the Dictionary Project, which is a nationwide project. And, it is so fun to see the third graders getting the dictionary and seeing what the longest word in the English language is. It's like gigantic. It represents something like 127 amino acids. It's some scientific thing. And, it's just fun to help them learn. Be giving them a tool that is useful. It's not like the third grade dictionary isn't just a dictionary. It has the elemental table. It
Mhm,
also has multiplication, has a map of the United States,
mhm,
gives a little bit more.
mhm,
And the fifth grade dictionary gives a whole lot more. It has um, maps of the world. It tells all about the presidents as well, history, a little bit of history on all the presidents and the different nations of our world.
mhm,
I won't give it all away, but it's solar system as well.
mhm.
It's a great thing helping students.
All right, yeah, that's awesome. Nothing's more fun than that, right?
Yes. Yes, because knowledge is power and
Mhm.
reading is in fact, oh, let me look. I took a picture of this sign at one of the schools today and I went, wow, I didn't know that. So in this picture, it says that a student who reads 20 minutes a day will be exposed to 1.8 million words a year
Mhm.
and will increase their and can score on the standardized tests in the 90 percentile.
Mhm.
A
Yeah,
student that reads 20 minutes a day. That's how easy it is.
yeah. The thing is most people don't. I know one of the things that now it's been 30, well, 40 years ago when my wife and I used to do these programs recruiting students. We walk into homes, and it used to shock us that you couldn't find a single scrap of anything to read in these houses. You'd have TVs in every room, right?
Right.
Not a
Right.
magazine. I mean, you're lucky if you could find the back of a cereal box to read while you're waiting for the parents to come out. And it used to just blow my mind because we were always voracious readers. But one of the things that's so cool about reading, if you can read and comprehend, you can pretty much pick up anything. I remember getting into college and not being very good at math, and I learned pretty quickly early on. If you just read the beginning of each math chapter, it tells you how to do the problems. But you have to have the ability to read and process the information in order to do it. So if you can do that, and if you read a lot, you'll learn how to spell because you're constantly getting, you don't even have to know grammar. You're constantly getting exposed to the words and how they're properly used. And so you'll wind up using grammatically correct writing and spelling and speaking just from reading. And we were young, of course. It was traditional for parents to read to their kids when they were little and they teach them how to
Yes.
read. But now with all this video stuff, it's killed people's ability or desire to read, and it's killed their attention span. What's more, people don't have the patience to wait for a plot to develop. I don't know if any of you have read the book, say Lord of the Rings, for example. It's
Hmm.
probably 100 pages before it really develops and gets to be fun. But you have to have the ability to have an imagination and take your time and enjoy the plot development before you can even pick up the story. So
Right.
people are just missing out. I know I just gave a long-winded response to what you just said, but wow, you miss out on so much if you don't read.
Well, you do. And, our club has been doing this for 19 years.
Mhm.
And we get thank you notes then back from the student. And interestingly enough, a few years ago, people said, oh, with all the electronics, nobody needs these dictionaries. Well, that particular year that we heard that a couple times, we got letters from, I remember reading one from a student and said, this is faster than my iPad.
Mhm.
Another kid said, looked at all the words Because when you only look up one word, that's all you're seeing. But when
Right.
you open the dictionary and you just go, whoa, whoa, right?
Right.
And
Right. Yeah.
it's a powerful tool.
Hmm.
And we explain to them. So it's fun to go back at the fifth grade when we do the fifth grade dictionary. Ah, Don's coffee's arrived.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
here. The lovely and gracious wife is always so good to me.
Oh, wonderful. And so to go back at the fifth grade, and we always ask them, how many still have your third grade dictionary? And the hands go up. And we've gotten thank you letters that say, this is my first book.
Hmm. Wow.
Or my mom's using my dictionary for her college.
Hmm.
It impacts. We never know the impact of what we're doing, but I can tell you many times I've had coffee in the morning reading these thank you cards, and the tears are just rolling down, and they're tears of happiness
Yeah.
that we've touched some lives with a simple book. And we
That's
have many sponsors that help us cover the cost of all of that. It's a community effort and even
mhm.
private donations. So a lot of fun.
Yeah. Right. That's awesome. I mean, I don't know if you remember this when you were a kid. We used to get from grade school these little sheets, and you could check off the books you want to order. Your mom would order for you. And I don't know how much those books cost. Maybe they're 3, 4, $5 a piece. And I would check off a ton of them. My mother she could only afford so many, but I was always getting these books. And I had like a whole ton of them in the basement of our house by the time I grew up and moved out. But I loved those books. Um,
So I didn't have anything like that in my house, but I've always been a reader.
mhm,
And I've always been a reader. I enjoy reading. And I'm going to read about all of our presidents, read their biographies.
mhm,
And it's interesting.
mhm,
It's really interesting. You learn so much,
mhm,
and it's important. It helps to expand our mind
mhm.
and expanding our knowledge and our understanding.
And there's something about a book you just can't get from a movie. I've seen many, many movies remade from books, and without exception, the book is better than the movie.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there are some movies that get close, but very few actually get close. If you read the book, it's always like, wow, there was so much more in the book because your imagination is just allowed to run better in a book. But
Yes.
yeah, anyway.
So, well, the big news is, of course, we don't have a speaker in the House. And there's several people. I can't even name them all. I can name two: Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise, that have thrown their hat in the ring, apparently, to be the speaker. And I don't know who else is there that's coming up, but I think several are looking to probably be the speaker.
Well, here's an interesting one for you. I just heard this like this morning when that news first came out. Uh, I don't know how much I would put into this, but they're considering Trump being in the running for that to be speaker. Now, would that put an interesting wrinkle in things?
Well, it would. And his name was mentioned, and he actually said something about that at the courthouse, to the public. And
Mhm,
he's clarified it now, says, no, I'm running for president. But
mhm,
what he did say is, I will do whatever I need to help the
mhm,
Republicans, and help to get a speaker.
mhm,
And and it was interesting commentary that I was listening to today, and is that many of us, and I will say I'm included in this, and maybe you are too, we're tired of status quo. Status quo,
mhm.
quite frankly, is how we've gotten in the mess that we're in.
Sure. Mhm,
And so we don't want, I would like to see, so the commentary that I was listening to earlier this evening was that many people don't want somebody who's been in office a long time. And so it was one of the representatives was speaking. I don't know his name. I wasn't familiar with him.
mhm,
And I was watching Newsmax actually while I was prepping dinner. I haven't eaten dinner, but dinner's ready. And so, um, And he said, so many of us, he goes, like, I've been here 4 years and
Mhm.
nothing has changed. And we need to have somebody who is doesn't have all this longevity
Mhm.
in office that is maybe emboldened, or
Mhm.
to others and whatnot. So, and I agree with that.
Mhm.
I agree with that because there's certainly frustrated I am with what has taken place to get us to this, and
Mhm.
nobody wants to shake it up.
Mhm.
And we need to shake it up because we can't go keep going like this.
Well, it's just about principles of good, basic good government, like the passage of these bills where they never say what's in the bill,
Yes.
and just kick the can down the road to the next year. So we wind up with just this massive amount of spending, and no one can put their finger on what it is or how we got there. And I think that's what this whole ouster was about. I mean, you did a good job of explaining it before we came online. Um, but my sense is that is really the holdup here. Is and the reason they got rid of McCarthy is he's just a go along, another go along, get along, lukewarm, moderate Republican.
Yeah, I mean, look at remember, was it 18 votes or something to get him to be the speaker? And there was a lot of concessions and a lot of negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
And the politics is negotiating because even though we have the House barely,
Mm-hmm.
um, we still have to, in order to pass the budget, have to negotiate with the Democrats. The Senate still has to pass that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's going to be a certain amount of negotiations happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I would like to see the Democrats playing hardball,
Mm-hmm.
much like the Democrats do. I want to see the Republicans. If I didn't say that right, I think I
Right.
didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And we don't, and we haven't.
Yeah,
Uh,
we haven't. We go along and get along, and
mhm.
and that brings me to uh, Tucker Carlson. If nobody has watched Tucker Carlson's, I'm trying to find it here. His episode number 27, and he has got Victor Davis Hanson on. I'll tell you, you need to listen. I'm going to post this here, and it's an article from PJ Media, but it has the link to, if you're not on Twitter, it has the link in there to watch that episode. And something that Victor Davis Hanson said, and it's 33 minutes.
Mhm.
Something that he said on there that really caught my eye, my ear and my eye, but I had to write it down. He said, uh, we can lose nobly or avoid winning ugly. And this is the problem. Nobody wants to shake it up, and we need to shake it up because our country, and I think a lot of people are not aware that we are at crossroads and a dangerous precipice in our nation that we could lose it. It's going, the symbols, the things that I see happening, and we've talked about it on Captive Audience, Don, the tyranny that is happening. And we're going to talk about some more of that tonight.
Mhm.
And so he said, we can lose nobly.
Mhm.
It seems to be that people are wanting to lose nobly and avoid winning ugly, profit both financially and psychologically.
Mhm.
And that is status quo.
Well, I think one of the big problems with people when they get into positions of power is there is a desire, and it's a natural human desire to be liked, to be popular, to be loved, right? And to be conservative, to be Christian, to espouse values around discipline is by definition going to get you not liked by the popular press. And it's very, very difficult to be that person catching arrows. And that's one of the reasons why I think we have so many moderate Republicans. I didn't even say word moderate, like lukewarm, soft, is the only words you can use for them. They can't take a hit and they go into these offices wanting to be liked. you can't go into those offices wanting to be liked. You have to go into those offices wanting to be right. And that's why you have
Right.
to admire someone like this guy, Matt Getz, who stood in the chamber to get rid of McCarthy, because McCarthy is clearly someone who just wants to be liked. And the same could be said of people like, was the senator from Arizona that ran for president a few years ago? He just wanted to be liked. So he
Right.
wouldn't call out Obama. It was like the worst campaign I've ever heard. How do you campaign without saying anything about your opponent that would be negative? And he did
Right.
that because he wanted to be liked. And the popular media, if you're going to be liked, then you're going to toe the line and you're not going to say anything about these obviously perverse things that are going on right now. One other thing I had to say too, because I think this would be really interesting for our audience. I listened to a talk by Victor Davis Hanson, who, if you haven't heard of him before, you should. His history lectures, and you can get them on YouTube, by the way. They're awesome. And even the ones that are just history lessons, not political ones, but just history. But one of the more interesting ones I heard, he was talking about what happens with great empires. And I'll use Great Britain as this example. They get great, they get large, and at the very peak of their dominance. So in the case of Great Britain, you're talking probably that period between 1870 and 1910. There was no country more powerful than Great Britain in the entire history of the world. And at that point, the wealthiest country in the world also was the same country where Dickens was writing about how atrocious it was in the streets of London. And part of the reason for that was they were pouring all of their money overseas in developing empire and not pouring it back into developing prosperity within their own country for its own citizens. Now, does that sound familiar?
Very.
Pouring,
Very.
so we're pouring a fortune in places like Ukraine.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the people in the Appalachians, people in these urban areas, can't get jobs and immigration is out of control. We all know the story, right? We're putting all our money, energy into places and things, and not only are we hurting ourselves by doing that, we ain't helping the people where we're sending the money to. The only people who are benefiting from this are the politicians and these oligarchs that run these places. And I'll stop there.
No, that's very true. And also people don't like change. People like to be they don't want to. There's those that don't want disruption in their lives, right? And they're, like you said, they want to be liked instead of doing what's right for our nation, which is why they were elected.
Yeah,
This is
and Sunny, it's fascinating because that's a great leap to talk about the congresswoman from Minnesota who got attacked in her driveway, right? Because she fits this perfectly. She's running around and saying things to be liked. She was one of the biggest pro defund the police people you can imagine, right? Until a group of gangsters like beat her up in front of her kids, carjacked her right in her own driveway. You can find pictures of her, on YouTube orders, like all bloody and beat up. And now she's singing a completely different tune about how we need to not let these kids wander the streets. We need to lock down on crime. Thank goodness we have the police. And the incredible thing about it is she was directly responsible for what happened to her. The sad part about it is this: she didn't care about that until it happened to her.
well, that's it. They think that they're immune from the repercussions of their actions. And no, it can happen to any of us.
But the narcissism in that, if you think about it, all I care about is me. Is just, but those are the types of people, unfortunately, in general, those are the types of people who run for office. I'm not saying that's universally true, but the nature of government is such that it attracts a certain kind of person. Most of them are going to be deeply flawed. I mean, they're there for power and
Right.
they're there for
Absolutely.
attention.
And they're willing to do anything to get there, quite frankly.
Yeah. I mean, they represent the worst of us in most cases, which is why the founders were so pro small government. It's a necessary evil, so you want to make it impact us as little as possible. That's why you should be for small government more than anything else, because the bigger it is, the more it can destroy you.
Absolutely. And we're seeing that today. Look at everything that Biden is implementing, be it the border, our energy, going after all of our appliances, our vehicles, our transportation. I mean, it is affecting all
Well,
of our lives in
yeah.
every level.
Who else could afford to buy four-star hotels in downtown New York and then truck illegal immigrants into them, as an example? You know, no business could do that. Individuals can't do that. Only an all-powerful government reaching into your pocket could do something that evil. This is why you want small government.
Well, you're absolutely right. And that's a very good segue right into the next story here of New York is pushing to suspend right to shelter law amid the illegal immigration crisis. and, and
But
also,
what did it take for that to happen, though?
exactly, it had to come to their town. It had to come to the city that they had to feel the pain of what is happening at the border instead of only Texas
Yeah, so
feeling that.
so the citizens of New York apparently don't give a damn about the citizens of Arizona, Texas, California, the states on the front line. It had to come to their doorstep. It's incredible, but that's how it works.
Well, that is how it works, and we also have the mayor is going down to Mexico to go look at. He's going to travel to Latin America to discourage migrants. Now, the New York mayor to discourage migrants from coming to his sanctuary city. Well, you know what? You made yourself a sanctuary city. Here's the repercussions.
Yeah,
What do you mean you want a timeout?
yeah, we're down there and beg them. And why do you have to go 3,000 miles to beg them? All you got to do is turn yourself into an unsanctuary city, number one, and then vote to close our own border. This is simple. There's no reason to be down there with your hat in hand.
No, there isn't a reason, and I'll tell you, it's our friend Michael Yon, who we've had here on Captive Audience. If you're not following him uh, on, well, he's on Twitter, but he's also on Telegram,
Mhm.
and he is really showing what's going on of down in the Darien Gap. And it's actually, there's a huge compound down there that is being funded by America. So we are funding our own demise as this is happening. Don't be fooled by what the mainstream media is seeing. There is truth out there, and with alternative resources, much like Michael Yon and others that
Mhm.
are showing what's going on.
Oh, there's two ways of lying. There's outright lying by what they're saying, and then there's lying by not saying what's happening.
Yeah.
And they're guilty of both kinds.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Well, a different story is Wisconsin. We're going to change into some transgender now. So, in Wisconsin, school districts said it would not abide by the wishes of the parents. So, it's gone to court, and a judge has ruled changing students' names and pronouns without parental consent violates parental rights. That is a win. That is a win because they've just been saying, no, parents, you know what? The school district is going to get to handle this, and you're not going to have a say in it.
Now, think for a second about the gall of this. I'm going to take your money, and then tell you don't have a right to what we do with your kids while they're in these. For that is the hubris of the left. Um, the state owns your children. That's literally what they're saying. Um, it's amazing. It's completely amazing.
Well, it is. So, but thankfully, there was a couple of school districts that said, you know what, we're going against the parents' wishes, and so two sets of parents sued the district, and including one set whose daughter attended a middle school. And the judge has ruled, saying the judge's ruling is saying that they are ordered to stop allowing or requiring staff members to refer to students with a name or pronoun at odds with their biological sex while at school absent parent consent. And so It's great to see the pushback. If we don't call this out for what it is
Hmm.
and speak about it, it will happen here.
Oh yeah.
But we have to speak about it and fight against it.
We
And
do.
so, along with that, I'm going to post another story here that a parental rights group, and this is out of Epic Times, both of these, a parental rights group has releases a list of over 1,000 school districts nationwide
Hmm.
hiding students' gender identity.
Wow.
And so I thought, well, I'm going to look at their this list, and sure enough, on this list in Oregon is Ashland, Bethel School District, Corvallis, Eugene School District. It says a 4. North Wasco County, Portland, of course, Salem Kaiser Public Schools, and Tiger Tualatin School District.
Wow.
That's the list out of Oregon.
Pretty incredible. Now, not only does that need to be reversed, but the people that run those districts need to be out because their support of something like that, changing the law alone is not going to cut it because they'll keep doing it through various other backdoor means as well. Um, I don't see how parents send their kid into a school that's doing that sort of thing. I just don't see it.
No, no, I don't either. And there's going to be some that are going to be in denial that that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
some that are unaware of any of this happening. And then, of course, I feel sorry for those parents that are aware but
Hmm.
don't have the financial means to either homeschool or yank their kids out of school.
Hmm.
But it takes pushing back and stopping this.
Right, right.
Instead of just giving up the schools, going, oh no, this is just not acceptable. It means going to
Hmm.
school board meetings, and speaking out about this and fighting back against it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, with the fight just as hard as they have. And to date, we haven't done that. I mean, it's starting to happen, but it's taken literally a Pearl Harbor event um, for us to realize we're being attacked. I was telling a friend this earlier today. It's like you're in Hiroshima on August 6th, 1945, walking around, and an atomic bomb drops, and you didn't even realize we're at war. You're one of the only people left standing. Like, oh, we're at war. That's what conservatives are like.
I know,
nobody,
exactly.
nobody realized we're at war until they literally stole the election. Right? It was a coup. Let's call it what it was. They literally performed a coup on the United States, and we're sitting here like dumbfounded. And for people to still be sitting around like that after all that's happened in the last 3 years is stunning. But such is the human nature to want things to be normal. I mean, I'll give you like kind of a quick example. I remember reading this when I was in high school and being shocked. So imagine you're a Polish Jew in 1932, right? And things are going to hell in a handbasket, right? Or even for that matter, you're in Berlin, or name your German city, and they're doing all these things. They're discriminating. They tear down your businesses. Kristallnacht happens. They go through and tear up all the buildings the Jews are in. Pretty soon, you can't have a business. Then they move you to a ghetto. You can only be in the ghetto. And there were Jews who saw this and said, "I'm leaving because this is heading to a bad place." A whole bunch more were in denial. And there were those who were in denial right until the time they walked him in the gas chamber. I mean,
Yes.
it is, but again, it's human nature to not want to see
Yeah.
evil.
Yeah. Denial is, I'll tell you, it's like they, ignorance is bliss,
Right.
right?
You just don't want to believe it.
No.
And reality is sometimes tough to face. So many people do the ostrich thing. Um,
Yes, they do. I'll tell you, I've not been an ostrich for a long, long, long time. I saw a meme, this guy holding up a sign, and he said, this is America. This is the United States of America. We're in trouble, and there is no one coming. There's no food trucks coming. There's no military coming to rescue you.
mhm,
It is us.
mhm.
And how true that is, you
Yeah.
know? I mean,
Oh, yeah. No, if the United States falls, who's rescuing us? We've always been rescuing everybody else. There ain't no rescue this time around. Um,
no, there isn't. It's us, the American people, and and in this going back to what Victor Davis Hanson was saying in that episode 27 with Tucker Carlson on X, formerly Twitter, he said that oh shoot, I'll tell you, it just went out of my mind.
Well,
I
that's
hate
okay.
that. I hate that.
You need more coffee.
Oh, I do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It just flittered right out of here. That
Well,
Twitter flittered.
well, while you're waiting for that thought, let me give you this one because I think this kind of dovetails too. Audience, Sonny and I were talking about this incident in New York City that happened. We're all aware of the Democratic Party basically buying hotels and then packing them. Like I'm talking nice hotels. We're not talking about Motel 6, right? In New York City with illegals. Well, there's a scene that was on a link that we watched this morning where there was a guy in front of one of the hotels taking pictures of it, and all the staff from the hotel comes out, and they're getting an argument telling him he cannot video the hotel. It isn't a public sidewalk. So basically, these people aren't aware of or don't care about the First Amendment. What I thought was so amazing about that is you sat there watching it. What you're looking at is what life is like in the rest of the world. What you're looking at is why the founders, when they implemented that Amendment, how it made it so completely different and unique, not just to the rest of the world, but the rest of the world throughout entire history. So look at the thuggishness that was occurring there. That all those people came out, and I'm not talking about little guys. I mean, Sonny, you saw the video.
I
These
did.
these were big guys, and I have to give courage to the guy who was doing the photography to stand his ground and argue with him, and he wouldn't leave, and he kept videoing him. And the only thing that kept that guy from getting pounded into the pavement is there was a New York City police officer there reminding them that he had the right to do that. If that guy wasn't there, present and armed, I have no doubt they would have killed him. And in most countries of the world, that's what would have happened. Um, we're so fortunate to be here. Where even given what the Democratic Party is trying to do to us, we still have the right. But B, that it's under severe pressure right now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And as you know, before we came started our program, Don and I were talking about this, and saw a video of a fellow. I'm assuming he was on a sidewalk, but he was praying in front of an abortion clinic. One guy praying with his Bible in hand and arrested. And so we're seeing the destruction of our nation. We're seeing two tiers of justice system. Look at what is happening to Donald J. Trump. This is kangaroo court. There is no crime. There's no crime, nothing's happened, but yet they're trying to strip him. And if it happens to him, believe me, it could happen to anybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely. People ought to recognize that's not an attack on Trump. That's
It
an
is.
attack on every one of us. I
It
don't care
is.
if you're Democrat, Republican, left, right, doesn't matter because that's going to be you eventually.
That's exactly right. I mean, to say that this judge feels that he has the power to order you're going to have to sell your properties because of a bad deal when there was never a complaint. There was no law broken, no law. They're trying to use it as if there were, but there wasn't. The deals were done. The loans were paid off,
There was
many
no
of
one, yeah, there was no one harmed.
no one harmed, no crime, no one harmed. And so I'll tell you, it's a dang. I look at this trial and reading about it, and frankly, I get shivers about it because this is a dangerous time in our country that this type of thing is going on. This is definitely political persecution,
Oh,
but but for a judge to decide that you are going to be forced to sell your property. Now, wait a minute. There is no crime there. And let's say he owns the building, five of those buildings, all outright. It's all paid for. Yes, he got loans, the deals were done, and it's all paid for. What gives the judge the right to go back in and do that?
yeah, these people cannot operate within the confines of law. clearly this is about removing someone from putting Trump in a position where he can't run for office. That's the whole thing. It's no longer about crippling him so it hurts his campaign. Anyone can see from the polling data this isn't doing that. They literally want to take him out of the running, which
Yes.
means they want to prevent you from having a right to, exercise the franchise. I mean, that is 100% what this is about, which also makes you wonder, how scared are they? What the hell have you done that you're that scared of one guy? Well, I think we can all pretty much guess that it's spectacularly bad. And if it ever, a fraction of it gets out, the repercussions will be hell to pay.
Yes, well, he was not going along with status quo. That's why he's being attacked. He is not the status quo president, and to aid in the demise of our nation and one world government and the big plan. So he is about, no, let's take care of our country, and that was spreading and is spreading around the world. It's
Well,
okay to have borders. It's okay to take care of your country, because if we don't take care of our country, nobody else is going to.
well, he's a threat to the pharmacoeconomic, military, industrial, higher educational, rape and pillage United States complex,
Yeah.
and they can't handle that. They can't have that.
No. No, they can't. No, they can't. And so, to go help our law go along a little bit further, there is a Colorado State Supreme Court is taking up a cake case. Y'all might have heard about the the great cake caper.
Let him eat cake. Let him eat cake.
Let him eat cake. Yeah. So the Colorado State Supreme Court is going to take up the embattled Christian Baker's case after an attorney demanded a gender transition cake. So this is the headline today. And so the Colorado Supreme Court announced Tuesday that it would take up the case involving Christian baker Jack Phillips, who was sued for refusing to make a gender transition cake due to his religious beliefs. And he was sued by a transgender attorney back in 2021. And the court in that case said it is not affecting his religious freedom was not covered under the First Amendment. So the state Supreme Court has decided to take up the case, and I think that's going to be a very good thing.
Yeah, agreed. At some point, they keep bringing these things up that are clearly wrong. I just don't think they're in a position to win yet. Personally, I think they pulled all of this stuff about a generation too soon.
You could be right. Let's pray you're right. Let's pray they pulled the trigger a little too early. Now, I got to tell you about another transgender episode that's happening that's not been on the radar of very many people. I'm a member of Republican Women and our local group, and I'm actually a former officer I was the recording secretary for Oregon Federation of Republican Women. So I pay attention to Republican women issues. Well, there was apparently a move to possibly allow transgenders into Republican women, and this went to the national level. Not our state level, not happening here, but at the national level. And so this past weekend, there was an election. NFRW had an election. There were a slate of officers that were in support, from everything I read.
Mm-hmm.
They were in support of allowing transgenders into Republican women. But there was another slate of officers that were nominated from the floor. Mm-hmm. 4 of them. And thankfully, they were elected. The 4 from the floor was elected. Mm-hmm. And they passed a bylaws change that said, or a resolution that is not to allow transgenders into the Republican women.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, Harmeet Dillon, if you don't know her, she's a pretty much First Amendment lawyer out of California. She's brilliant. She is also a member of Republican Women in California.
Mhm.
And she did a couple of videos before this convention that just met. She
Mhm.
did a couple of videos, and she said, this is settled case law. You don't have to be afraid of a private organization defining who their members can be. It's okay. But
Mhm.
apparently the former president of Republican National Federation of Republican Women had gotten legal counsel, and that legal counsel had said, you're gonna, if you guys don't allow the transgender in, you will set yourself up for a lawsuit.
Mhm.
Well, you can't operate on fear. Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
the former president was saying, oh, we might get sued. You know what? This is settled law.
Right. Yeah.
And the line has to be drawn again, but you have to define what is allowed in your bylaws.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yeah. Right.
A biological woman. That's
Mhm.
it, period.
Yeah. Next.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't care if someone wants to say they're a woman, you know what? You've got every right to do that.
Mhm.
But you don't have a right. You can say it, but it doesn't change anything biologically.
No, and you can't make us say it.
No, and you can't make us say it.
You can be whatever you want, man. You could be like a centaur if you want. You could be a fly or a
Right.
unicorn, whatever you want. Yeah, I'm good, right?
Unicorn, whatever.
But I'm not calling you that. So, you know.
So, and the thing is, and this is why we have to fight this, because if we don't fight it, we're giving in to all of it. We
Mhm.
are, and it will continue on.
Yeah, and I think this, so many times I think we look to politicians or people in leadership positions to impact these kinds of things. When the reality is, this is everyday, feet on the ground dogfight, and you are going to have to risk relationships. Some relationships are just going to have to be lost. Some feelings are just going to have to be hurt. I mean, I'm sure some of us have, and I talked to a number of people who've had children who, now I'm this and I'm calling myself, something I'm not. And well, you know what? I'm calling you this, and the chips just have to fall where they fall in the most loving way I can. But I'm not referring to my son as a daughter. Now you can do with that what you want, but I'm not doing it. I think that's the approach. That's how personal this stuff will get, is getting.
Is getting. Well, today was I thought, very good news. I saw that the Prime Minister of England, of the UK, he said in a speech, I don't know where he was speaking, but he said, there is only a man and a woman.
Mhm.
That's it. What?
That's
Oh,
awesome.
good.
Yeah. I'm glad you
Because,
reinforce reality.
oh, good,
Whoever
and
you can't
so
get
this
a
is it.
major intellectual debate by calling a woman a woman.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
we've fallen. You know what? This is funny in some kind of a deep, dark, intellectual way. Remember when Clinton said, "I don't know what the meaning of the word is."
Right.
That was the beginning of the end.
Boy, wasn't that, isn't
30
that?
years ago.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Define is.
Oh.
That's a good note to leave this on. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's amazing the changes and the that we've allowed to happen for the last 30, 40, 50 years. Truly, truly is. And it is, as Laurie says, just say no.
Yeah.
No,
And
just say no.
the to me anyway, the simplicity around what we did to get here. I mean, lots of things are complex that have occurred, but the
Yes.
simplicity is simply a lack of adherence to moral law. That's it. It's pretty.
True.
All of this stuff flows from that. If we just return to morality, this stuff goes away.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It does. And we're all born how we're intended to be. We are.
Absolutely, yeah. We get in trouble when we start trying to undo what the Creator made in the first place.
Yep. Don, thank you very much.
Thank you all, and thanks to the audience for listening to us. We're always thankful and thrilled that you are here. Spread the word. America is still great because it has people like you in it.
Amen. Have a good night and share the message.